Now, the purpose for the next 25 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever I talk for, isn't to dive deep into any particular application, capability. Instead, I'm just going to be going over a few different ones at a high level, just sort of showing you off what's new to the Esri platform. Now, for a few years now, Esri have had these 9 different common patterns of use for GIS. Right? Today, I'm going to focus on about 4 of them. Right? Patterns such as mapping and visualization, analytics, decision support, and then sharing and collaboration. So what is actually new in GIS? Right? So there's so much new in Pro 2.2 that I won't really be going into much detail there. Right? There's actually an entire presentation it was written by Brittany, being presented by Ian today, on 2.2. I can, however, sort of let you know that 2.2 has ArcMap equivalency, including the return of the humble rectangle zoom tool, right? As well as new advanced map visualization with symbology relation, where we can provide the ability to mask point layers related to polygons. ArcGIS Enterprise 10.6.1 brings new Firefly symbology by default to the browser. Now, this is something that helps to improve the visualization of our data, all inside the portal map viewer. New feature analysis tools such as summarize center and dispersion, find centroids, and then find point clusters bring the capability to do more, all in that browser environment. Distributed collaborations, while not exactly new, they are improved at 10.6.1, bringing more control to the participants. And one of my favorite tools in the Enterprise Suite now, Enterprise Sites. There, by default, you'll now have the ability to create nice interfaces for your open data without delving into any code at all. Right? Available at 10.6.1, distributed collaborations and ArcGIS Enterprise Sites improve the user experience of ArcGIS Enterprise. But I'm actually going to cover those 2 a little bit more later. Insights for ArcGIS 3.0 is out, and wow, what a difference. Right? 3.0 came out September and brought with it the ability to customize our workbooks with different colors. Finally, we have the ability to share our workbooks or individual pages with the public as well. We can also now use a brand new suite of charts. Charts including the KPI trackers and link analysis. All of this at the click of a button, or if you've seen Insights, the drag of a field. ArcGIS Online received a facelift recently too, with June 18 release bringing with it a new user interface. September release brought new spatial analytics capabilities and updated symbology packages. Packages such as the local government, the state government, and the national park symbology packages. Now I have a little bit of a treat for you guys. I have a little bit more about the December release for ArcGIS Online coming up at the end of this. But now for something even more forward-facing than the December release. 2 new apps to the Esri suite. Tracker for ArcGIS is a new field app coming to 2019, enabling organizations to track assets anywhere, anytime, providing your organization's location awareness of where your assets are. Allowing the analysis of these location patterns in order to improve efficiency, derive new workflows or routes, and then improve worker safety on site. The other new application there is ArcGIS Urban, and I'm extremely happy to let you know that Esri have given me access to their demonstration environment for Urban, where I'll actually be able to show you a little bit from the Boston Planning and Development Agency. So focusing on the mapping and visualization and then the decision support pattern of use, our cities are actually facing unprecedented levels of growth and change. For anyone that hasn't been to Canberra, I'm Canberra-based, anyone that hasn't been there recently, in 2017 alone there were 5,500 residential developments approved, valued at over $1.6 billion. But this level of growth isn't exclusive to our smaller cities. All of our cities are facing massive challenges, like strong population growth, which is forcing massive change. The other great change we're seeing is the availability of data. We're in the midst of a data revolution at the moment, with over 2.5 quintillion bytes of data available today, 90% of which was created in the last 2 years alone. Currently, our typical information flow looks a little bit like this, a little bit siloed, where GIS professionals are maintaining spatial databases, providing standard mapping services to planning professionals. The same planning professionals then have their own services that they provide to key stakeholder groups. So how can ArcGIS Urban help our cities cope? Esri's objective is to relieve many of the pressures experienced by both GIS professionals and planning professionals. ArcGIS Urban will be used to consolidate what we call standard practices, giving practitioners and stakeholders access to the tools they need to support their work. Therefore, relieving pressures on GIS professionals to provide access to up-to-date data and enabling them to focus more on providing higher value, more advanced services. The version 1 release of ArcGIS Urban is going to focus on 2 key standard practices: zoning and land use plans, and then project status and design review. But for now, let's have a look at ArcGIS Urban. So this is Boston Development and Planning Agency. Their environment, they've developed ArcGIS Urban alongside Esri. And all in the browser, what we can actually see here is a vast number of projects around Boston. Now, one of the key things in ArcGIS Urban is the ability to look at indicators. Indicators such as population density, where we can actually visualize the density of the population, which is the heat map that we have here, and then a sum of population in the area. Right? So currently in Boston, there are over 80 projects between downtown and Dorchester. How about we actually dive into one of these plans? Right? Now what we're going to have a look at is the Dorchester Avenue plan here in Boston. And what we can actually see here is sort of different visualization for this plan. With zoning plans, quite often there are a whole lot of legal text, right? A whole lot of text that we have to read, changes between areas. With ArcGIS Urban, we can actually configure it to use the local plans and the local zones so that we can visualize it all up in the browser. With the ability to actually have a look at the parcels as well, where we can view current build-out scenarios. ArcGIS Urban gives you the ability to build these scenarios so that you can see possible buildings. Currently, this is what the zones allow. If I was a developer and I was to bring a new scenario here for zone changes, what I can actually do is have a look at these zone changes. Right? By bringing these different zones into ArcGIS Urban, we can visualize potential building footprints. Right? If we're looking at this, we can actually view a little bit of stats about this. Right? So we can see there 2/3 of what this new plan is going to bring to the area is residential. Now, if I thought, that's a little bit high, I want to bring it down a little bit, what I can actually do is I can come in and all in the browser, on the fly, I can edit one of these parcels. From here, I can actually come in, I can override my zoning type. I can say, well, because we're going to change that to office, we're going to drop it down 100 feet. We can give it a little bit bigger setback. And we can actually change the type of parcel, the space use. All really, really easily. Now, I've only been playing around with ArcGIS Urban for about 2 weeks now, and all sort of on the fly, I can actually change that so that we keep the view from the residential buildings. We can see it's updated, and that's taken away 3% of the residential building or potential there. And that's all in the browser. So this application, ArcGIS Urban, has actually been developed in conjunction with a few different organisations. This platform is actually aimed to improve and increase the amount of collaboration and input within a complex set of municipal relationships. It's aimed to reduce uncertainty when facing high-stake decisions on capital flows, as well as reduce siloed workflows and data inconsistencies. So ArcGIS Urban will bring with it the ability for collaborators to put their BIM models straight in. We know this because Esri are actually working with current customers like the City of Boston that we just saw there, as well as the National Capital Planning Commission, who previously were spending per design review related to ViewShed over $100,000 each time. Now, with Urban, they've captured that as a repeatable workflow. In Miami-Dade, the county and the Transport Planning Organisation needed a platform to collaborate together on 6 massive transportation corridors, in which capital was being spent on a new bus rapid system valued at over $6 billion. But how is all of this data actually being shared? The next generation of collaborating with other teams, organisations, departments, or even just between 2 of our own environments was first introduced at 10.5 with distributed collaborations. This has been further improved at 10.6.1 and will continue to develop into future versions. Distributed collaborations are a quick and easy way to establish trust with other GIS environments to enable the ability to share data. This process uses familiar existing groups to enable the collaborations to sync their copies of that data. Distributed collaborations make the ability to share data quick, easy, and repeatable. The benefits of collaborations are widespread, and they mean that you no longer need to spend time and money perfecting and maintaining laborious scripts to synchronize environments. This happens automatically on a set schedule, or now, at 10.6.1, on demand. Distributed collaborations use the familiar group sharing model found in ArcGIS Enterprise, which means that the process of adding new data to these collaborations is as easy as checking a box to share it to a group that we were probably already going to share it to. The collaboration will keep data in both environments in sync with each other if given the ability to. And it's going to be able to leverage all of the common formats found across the ArcGIS platform. New at 10.6.1, you can now collaborate web mapping applications between 2 enterprise deployments or between Enterprise 10.6.1 and ArcGIS Online. This means that you can enable field work through the ArcGIS Online and then have an internal copy of all of your applications. You now have the ability to synchronize your collaborations on demand as well, meaning that if the last synchronization was last weekend, you can ensure that any changes that have occurred since then filter through, meaning that you have the latest information available to support any decisions that need to be made. Some common patterns of use for distributed collaborations include a connection from ArcGIS Online through to ArcGIS Enterprise, meaning organisations can actually leverage the accessibility and the availability of ArcGIS Online without having to connect through firewalls to mobile devices out in the field. At 10.6, distributed collaborations now support enterprise-to-enterprise collaboration. So if the State Health Department needs to regularly share data with the Federal Department of Health, they can. They can configure one of these collaborations so that they can securely transfer their data and no one else needs to know that that connection exists. The Federal Health Department can then have a collaboration for each state and sync the data on demand. Another common pattern is to have a central environment, let's say an ArcGIS enterprise environment for the whole city to use. Then each department, agency or organisation can collaborate with this central environment, meaning that there is no connections between individual organisations, but rather to a central authoritative location. Now this central environment can then be used as a single location for sharing all these data sets among organisations or to the public, which lends itself perfectly to the next feature I wanted to show you guys. ArcGIS Enterprise Sites. New at 10.6.1, ArcGIS Enterprise Sites allow you to create custom websites and pages that are powered by the content in your enterprise environment, leveraging tags and groups from Portal. ArcGIS Enterprise Sites enable you to deliver a tailored experience that makes data discovery easier and more approachable for your users. Now, I say ArcGIS Enterprise Sites are easy to configure. How about we actually have a look at that? This is a 10.6.1 environment that I have up in Azure, and I'm signed in. Now, I'm an administrator, so I have full access to everything here. And to access our Sites administrator page, all we have to do is the app launcher and go to Sites. Now, from here, creating the new site is actually just as easy as clicking a button. Create new site. From there, all I need to do is start configuring my site. Right, so I can give it a name. Let's say that this site is going to be for all transport departments to share crash data. Right, so transport, and the site URL there, all this is going to do is customize the end of the URL to access it. So I'm going to have that as well as transport. Now scroll down, I can just draw the extent because it's going to be a national data set or national data sets. I'm just going to draw the extent around Australia and go to next. Now the next page is where we actually choose the groups that are already existing in our enterprise to participate in this enterprise site, where I have data from the ACT, I have data from Queensland, and I have data from Victoria. And again, just press next. Now that takes me straight through to the site builder, the site editor, where we can actually start configuring how our data site looks. Right. Straight off the bat, I'm going to change the title of this site. Rather than calling it data sharing, I'm going to call it national transport. And myself, being the web developer that I am, I want to bring the search bar from the bottom, sort of kind of up to the top, and I don't have a tagline, so I'm going to get rid of that. Right? Easy as deleting the tagline and clicking Show Search Bar. Give it some placeholder text, and go back. Now I have two search bars there. Removing this old one, the Find Data, I can just delete the entire section, and there we go. Now the most clicked part of these open data sites are our category selectors. So let's configure these to show the right amount of data, or the right data. Let's name this one ACT, and I want it to show any data in the ACT. The next one, I'll call Queensland. I want it to show Queensland data, but I don't want it to be orange, I want it to be maroon. Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to get the maroon wrong because I'm just going, it's a rough maroon. Now, with the next one, I want Victoria. Right? And part of that was Victoria said that they need to have a car as the icon. Right? I can actually just pick an icon that Esri have provided. I can scroll down. Now I know there's a car there, and I can go select. Right? There we go. Now how about if I don't want to show individual states by individual states? I want someone to be able to find all crashes. I can use a tag, and this just leverages the tags that are already on our data in the enterprise system. Right? And I'm going to save that site and then have a look at how the users would use it. Here we go. You can see everything sort of flowed through. I am signed in because I'm in the browser. And I can come down here. I can view all data sets related to crashes. In there, we have the Australian crashes, the Queensland crashes, the Victoria crashes. Now, to prove it, it is then searching on the tag crashes, but it shows me all of the other tags in here. And creating ArcGIS Enterprise sites really is that easy. Now, I said at the start that I was going to show you a little bit about the future of ArcGIS Online and what the December release is actually bringing. Now, I can let you know that prior to December 2018, ArcGIS Online identity and capabilities were determined by user levels, level 1, level 2, allowing ArcGIS Online members to either view content or have access to all capabilities. Our user community has actually asked for a wider variety of capabilities. In order to meet these requirements, ArcGIS Online is evolving levels into user types. User types are a combination of identity, capabilities, and apps that align with the needs of typical members in an organization. So how do these identities actually look? Well, let me start you off with the equivalent of a level 1 user, the viewer. Able to securely view your team's maps, apps, monitor project performance through dashboards, and use location information to make decisions. Next up, we have the editor, who is able to add and modify data using apps, review and edit incoming data to improve accuracy, as well as everything that the viewer can do. Then we have the field worker, who is able to use apps for data collection, inspections, and surveys, seamlessly integrate field collected data, and share updates with your team in real time. At the equivalent of a level 2 user, we have the creator, who is able to create maps and apps with your data, access authoritative data to accelerate your work, and expand analysis, analyze data to understand trends, and share maps with stakeholders in a variety of ready-to-use apps. Now, to finish it off, we have the GIS professional, who is able to create and manage 2D and 3D location data, use scientific analytical tools to deepen your understanding, and then share maps, apps, and insights with your team. Along with these identities, there's now the concept of app bundles, with different applications are bundled together in order to provide access to these applications easier. There are the ArcGIS Essential apps, which will include things like Map and Scene Viewer, Story Maps, Configurable Apps, and Operations Dashboard. The Field App Bundle includes our field apps like Collector, Survey 123, and Workforce for ArcGIS. Then we have the Office Apps Bundle, which includes Maps for Office and Maps for SharePoint. So how do these identities tie in with the new app bundles? Well, by default, the identities come with access to different app bundles. Viewer users will be able to use any of the ArcGIS Essential apps. Editors will be able to use these as well, but also be able to edit data through them, while field workers are also given access to the Field Apps Bundle. Creators will have access to all 3 of these app bundles, and GIS professionals will have the same. The difference being they will get a guaranteed ArcGIS Pro license. Additional apps will be able to be assigned to these user types by their organization administrators as well, but the included apps cannot be taken away from the user types. All right, so just a quick rundown of my 2 demonstrations there. So Esri actually provided me with a demonstration environment for ArcGIS Urban. And then the ArcGIS Enterprise sites is an Azure machine hosting ArcGIS Enterprise 10.6.1 base deployment. Now that's just portal, server, data store, and web adapters. Some resources, ArcGIS Urban's landing page, I recommend going in there. Brooks Patrick has a video on there if you want to have a look at Urban in a little bit more detail. And then ArcGIS user types. So last Tuesday, I think it was, Esri released a blog publicly going through ArcGIS user types. That is the URL there. Down the bottom, I've shortened it for you, so tinyurl.com/agol-user types. Have a read of it, ask us questions out in the breakaway area as well. So for training, I'm just going to cover sort of what's new in the training space. So our training team has their instructor-led courses still. Some of you might be attending some of these courses yesterday. There's none in Brisbane tomorrow. It's a weekend. But there are some changes in the training team. So all desktop training is moving or has moved from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro. Now that might sound a little bit daunting, but don't worry, we have a course to help out with that, migrating from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro. Along with this move, we've actually just added a new course to our catalogue, sharing content to the web using ArcGIS Pro, which is the equivalent of Arc4, if anyone's ever sat that. The training team are also offering the opportunity to get our trainers in for some floor walking, or if that's not possible, we have the virtual coaching available. Otherwise, there's always the online training provided by Esri, including a training seminar that should take, I think it was an hour off the top of my head, to help get started with ArcGIS Enterprise sites.